If you're a new founder who doesn't have a lot of time, should you be spending that time building a community of people, or should you be spending that time focusing on getting the product right? If you get the balance wrong, you'll end up wasting a lot of time and effort, and you'll lose the momentum that really can make a business successful. Hi, I'm Nicole, and for over 10 years, I've been helping turn fuzzy ideas into businesses that actually work for your lifestyle. In this channel, there's no hustle, there's no hype, there is just doable steps to help you action your dreams. So if that sounds like a good fit for you, hit subscribe and let's get into today's video. In today's video, I'm going to run you through the pros and cons of the different approaches between community and product building. I'm going to give you some real life examples of businesses that have made some mistakes along the way. And at the end, I'm going to give you a hybrid approach that can really help you get the most value for the time and the effort that you're putting in. So let's talk about the product first approach. This generally occurs when you've got a product that's going to take you a couple of months or even a year or more to throw together. Really common to see in things like apps and website builds, physical products, especially if you have to deal with offshore suppliers and all that kind of thing. The pros of focusing on that product first is that when you do go out to the community, you have something tangible you can offer them. You have that real thing that they can see and they can buy. But the downside of it is, if you don't engage with the community enough, you can very well risk spending 3, 6, 12 months to produce this amazing product that no one wants to buy. The first real world example I want to give to you is actually my own. I was on maternity leave with my newborn. I had 2 kids under the age of 2, and I just wanted to pick up coding again and keep my identity while I had the little kids. So what I ended up doing was building a financial literacy app for families to help parents teach their kids about money and to help kids start to understand concepts like compounding interest. I absolutely loved building it. I tested it with families. I was getting all this great feedback. But I made one big mistake. I hadn't built a community. The apps went live and I basically had to start from scratch. I had to then start to build these communities of people who might be interested. And the funny part is, as I really started to reach these families and reach these parents, what I would be finding over and over again is that the conversation would start with, how do I teach my kids about money? And almost always would end up with them asking me how they can set up a business for themselves. They were seeing what I was doing, they were loving the idea of a tech startup, and they wanted to know more. So what I was actually finding is that even though all of my work was going into promoting the financial literacy app, what was actually getting me traction and actually getting me results and satisfaction was helping these women start their own business. If I'd started building that community earlier on as I built the product, I would have realized a year earlier that actually the bigger opportunity and the bigger chance for me to help people is through helping the mums with businesses rather than just app for kids that maybe will never get used. So what's the alternative? If you're not focusing on product first, can you put all of your time and effort into building the community first and then just worrying about the product later? Now that does have some advantages, but it also has some very, very real risks. I want to read out a message from a founder that I've been chatting to on LinkedIn. So she has built a very large, very engaged Facebook community for mums who are sharing budgeting tips, sharing recipes, sales, everything that would help new mums who don't have a lot of money. And I want to read you this message from her. Hi Nicole, I've been trying to monetize this community for almost 3 years because the workload is intense and I make a few dollars here and there if someone uses an affiliate link or a promo code, but it's nothing substantial. I'm self-employed, I'm a single mum, I have 2 little kids. The community is very engaged and there's lots of valuable information posted, shared and commented on. But I'm just trying to keep it afloat, both for the business and for me personally. And I might have to close up or pause if I can't figure out a way to make money. This founder has done some amazing things, but she's also made some really big mistakes. And probably the biggest mistake of all was that it's taken her 3 years to realize that the community that she's built is not something she can monetize in the way that she's built it. Because she put all of her efforts into a Facebook group, it's really limited her ability to advertise to and to reach out to these community members. And if she'd started earlier with some kind of product, any kind of product, She could have put the effort into bringing that community into a space that worked better for her so that she could support these conversations, but doing so in a way that doesn't drain all her time and effort for no money at all. So now you're probably thinking, obviously the solution is some hybrid. We want to build the product, but we want to build the community at the same time. And that is 80% of the right solution. So let me walk you through my third real life example. It's a Brisbane-based startup that specialises in HR software, and they followed a build it with me approach, which means they were developing the product alongside their future users. They built a really strong community of HR professionals and supported them through major changes like navigating COVID. As part of that, they'll do things like, oh, would you like this feature? Or where's your pain? And they would actually solve those problems for those customers in their product. So after maybe a year, 18 months, they came out with their software solution that was exactly what these HR people needed. It gave them all the tools they needed, and everyone was really excited about it because they'd helped build it, they'd had input along the way, and it was what they wanted. But here's the 20% that they got wrong. The HR employees absolutely loved the product, but the companies they worked for wouldn't budget for it. So the decision makers weren't the users, and they weren't convinced to pay. They had very much validated the pain and the need, but they hadn't validated the monetization. So now the good news for this company is that whilst they had really been building this community for corporate HR people, they'd also had a lot of interest in like smaller businesses, ones that don't necessarily have a HR department, they just have a person who's doing it on their own. At that point, when they realized that the product they'd built wasn't quite right for the community they'd built, they were already able to pivot and essentially start selling it to the smaller players who could spend the money and did desperately need this product. So that brings me to my final point about you have to be very careful about what you're really validating, because if you're not actually selling something to people, what you are validating is, do they like the idea? Do they like you? Do they think it's nice? But they're not actually committed. The trap with being a product builder is that you might build products that people love the sound of and they're excited about, but they don't want to hand over money for. And the challenge of being a community builder is that you can end up spending more time doing content creation and building community than actually doing something that will sell. So the rule that I always follow is that it's not validated until someone hands you money. The only way you can do this is to really shorten the time between when you get a product into the hands of your community. The biggest flaw with all of these businesses is that it took us all, a year, 18 months, 2 years, 3 years to realize that what we were doing wasn't right. If at the start, instead of building an app or instead of building a community, what I'd actually done was some kind of lightweight version that I could get into people's hands within 1 month and try and sell it, I would have realized 17 months earlier that what I should be focusing on is the mothers who want to start a business. If the lady who'd built the community on Facebook had actually started early on with a product she wanted to sell, she would have realized years ago that the people I'm talking to aren't right for this product and I can't monetize it on Facebook, so I need to solve that problem first before I can really be successful and monetize this. And if the HR company had started with getting the employers to actually buy the software or agree in principle to pay for it, they would have realized a long time ago that actually the real opportunity for them lied in the same product but in a different market, and they could have spent the time and effort building for that. Here is the doable steps that you can follow to avoid these problems. In my previous videos, we've talked about how you can serve the first 10 customers. The product that you sell to those first 10 customers does not have to be your ultimate product. It does not have to be the product that you want to build or the thing that you want to do forever. But what it does have to be is it has to be something that they will pay for and that you can support them on, because you want to have those conversations and you want to have real commitment from them that what you are doing is at least in the right direction of what they want. Any time between when you start the business and when you start to sell a product is dead time. It is time that you will never get back. It is time where you are missing opportunities, and it is time where what you are trying to do is getting further and further away, even if it feels like you're doing a lot. So my advice, my only advice, is find something that you can sell to 10 customers today or within a week or two. So take your big idea, take your vision, take your mission, and break it down to something that you can sell to 10 people today. Let's say you have a physical product, like you'll want to put out a beautiful, a beautiful daily planner. That's your end goal. That's what you want to do. What you can do today is it'll take you half a day to put together some page layouts in Canva and sell them as digital print yourself files on Etsy. And if you start to do that, you'll start to connect with people who say, hey, I like this digital file, but I want a physical one. Or they'll say, this is a good idea, except that I want it in a different orientation, or all of these different things that you wouldn't know if you hadn't tried to sell them the wrong thing first. So don't wait. Sell something small, learn from it fast, and use that insight to shape your next move. That's how you find the business that actually works for you. Thanks for watching today. If you've gotten value from these videos, please like and subscribe and join me for the next one.